Hi everybody, welcome back to Mr. D TV. I'm Mr. D. If you've noticed that the number of posts on the blog has gone down in the last few weeks, it's because I've been focusing and working on a new book. The book is a collection of teaching advice, of all the teaching advice, the best advice that I've collected over the years, all in one place. Some of which has been on the blog, some of which has not been on the blog or has been in these videos, and it's all kind of bringing it together. One of the pieces of advice is something I'm going to share with you right now that's in there and kind of give it a little bit more as well. And it's this. We need to have fun with this job. I don't have to tell anyone who's been in the classroom that there are times where it's not fun. And depending on where you are, it could be not fun for what seems like a majority of the time. So you have to take advantage of little moments and run with them. And what I mean in particular is I always liked to tell crazy stories, some unbelievable, some very believable, about myself, and then just run with it. The best example of this happened a few years ago. We were doing a newspaper project, a little newspaper math, so we had a lot of recent newspapers. And in the entertainment section of one of the papers, it showed a big picture of Shakira, the worldwide music superstar. Shakira was coming to the Valley, to South Texas, to perform. And of course, the kids, as they were likely to do with me for some reason, I guess because they knew I was single at the time, they looked at the picture of Shakira and they said, "Oh, sir, look, it's your girlfriend, Shakira, ooh." And I looked at it and said, well, my first thought was, wouldn't that be nice? My second thought was, I'm going to take this and have a lot of fun with it. So I told the kids, well, it's actually kind of sad. I don't really want to talk about it, but she is, an ex-girlfriend. And I don't want to go into it more than that. It's very hard for me. And of course, they started laughing and carrying on. Sir, are you crazy? Of course. I said, look, you have to understand, it was, we met, she was in the Valley before, we met, it was wonderful, there was a connection, an instant connection, that, it was meant to be. But, of course, Shaki, as I called her, that was my little pet name for her, Shaki was a worldwide superstar. I mean, she had to go tour the world and be this larger-than-life person, and I had my teaching career that was just starting, and I loved my kids. I wanted to stay with them, and I needed to stay in one place in the Rio Grande Valley. So just, as much as it seemed like it was meant to be, we were star-crossed lovers. And so, she went on her way, and I stayed where I was, and we're just, unfortunately, in another time, another place, perhaps it could be different. But alas. And we had a lot of fun with that. I would constantly come back to that. I would tell the kids that that her song, a song she sang the lyrics were about us, and I'd quote the lyrics because in real life I'm a very big Shakira fan. Her hips always tell the truth. It's amazing. But it just was a running thing. It was something that was like an in-joke that me and the kids could have, that nobody else would really know about. There was another time where earlier in my career, when I first started and came to my first school in the Valley, there was basically the only white people in the entire school besides one or two students was a large number of teachers. A lot of them had come down to the Valley through the Teach for America program, as I had. Somehow the kids were under the impression that all of us were related, either brothers, sisters, cousins. And I mean, there wasn't a single person among that group that I looked anything like, by any stretch of the imagination, except from my student's perspective. And I finally one day, I kind of went along with it. I didn't make a big deal out of it. I said, if that's what you want to believe, that's fine. And I said, you know what, guys? I didn't come in here and look at all of you and say, well, you guys must all be related because you all have similar skin tone and, a lot of similar last names, and a lot of you have ancestry back to the same countries in Mexico and Latin America. And one of the kids looks at me and says, sir, we are all related. that's my cousin, that's my brother, you have my other cousin in another class, and he's a cousin through marriage. And at that point, I just had to laugh. I mean, what else could you do? They had a point. There were, particularly in the school I was at, a lot of kids were related to each other by some way, shape, or form. So I was put in my place at that point, but it was still funny. What I would do, a lot of times I would have friends or girlfriends or whatever come and visit school at various points throughout my career. And I didn't want any of my students to know what my actual relation to that person was. I didn't want them to, number one, start asking me questions, because that would get us off track. And I didn't want them to start talking to them and ask them a lot of questions, like, what was Mr. D like back there? Or what do you guys do for fun? Where does he take you for dates? Da-da-da-da-da. I didn't want to open that door, as much as I like to be open with my students. So I did manage to convince most of the time I managed to convince them that either there was someone who was here from the state, here to observe and give us a report on us. I convinced them that one of my girlfriends was a college student who was just observing for their education class. They might become a teacher here, that sort of thing. And I had to, you have to have a lot of details for a story like that. That's what really makes it work. You have to be able to come up with an answer for whatever question they might come up with. And that's where the being a great storyteller part of being a teacher really comes into play. I think I was successful with pretty much every guest who was not an official school person, school administrator, whatever, at convincing the kids that I didn't really know them. And so we avoided all of the stuff that would come with that. These sorts of things are very small, but very simple and very fun. And it would be something we could always go back to as the year went on. And that's not to say you shouldn't have other sort of running jokes with the kids. I also, not really a crazy story, but in one of my old schools, the air conditioning was terrible. Like, we were constantly in like sub-zero temperatures, it seemed like. And even though we lived in a place where it's 90 degrees outside most of the year, we were in the one room in the school where the air conditioning was on way too low, and it was 60 degrees, and kids had sweaters on. It was ridiculous. So despite the fact that there was no temperature gauge or controls anywhere within the classroom, there was a nonstop question of or requests. It's like, sir, it's so cold. Like, can you please turn it up? And no matter how many times I told them I had no control over it, they would still ask the question. So I said, you know what, I'll take care of it. And I walk over to a completely blank space on the wall where I would imagine a thermometer might be. And I start to turn the knob. I'm like, hold on, I'm taking care of it. Okay, I think it's going to be, we're at 75, and click. Okay, we're good. You let me know if it doesn't warm up, okay, because I'll adjust it again. And so the invisible thermometer routine became a familiar thing that I just kept going back to. The kids always laughed. But they never stopped asking the question, which I never got. So, those sorts of things are what make teaching different than any other profession. You only get those kind of moments with kids, I think, and not really with adults. So this is what I just told you. Part of that is part of the new book. The name of the book, if I don't change it before it comes out, is Teaching is Not a Four-Letter Word. And the subtitle is How to Stop Worrying and Love the Job. It should be out in a few weeks. I hope you take a look at it. It's for everybody. It's just general teaching advice, and that's all. If there's something you'd like me to talk about in a future video, specific question, general question about just about anything related to our profession or the students or whatever, email me, teachforever@gmail.com. As always, it's a pleasure. Thank you for coming to the site. Thank you for watching the videos. See you next week.